Greetings and welcome to lab number 4, working with tables and images in PowerPoint. If you haven't done so already, what you need to do to get prepared to complete lab number 4 is to go to Canvas and download the Lab4 files and the files for chapter 5 and 6 so that you can utilize those files when you read the associated chapters. But for the purpose of the lab, you need to download the Lab4 files from Canvas, and when you've done that, then you should have a lab4 demo ppt, which is the name of this file, and a lab4 text, which is in a Word document. If you don't have Microsoft Word, then you can click an alternative link in Canvas that brings up a web page, and you can copy and paste that information from Canvas. I would recommend that you put both of these files in a folder named Lab4, similar to what you see here. After you download the files, the first thing you're going to notice is that since they were downloaded from the web, that they're going to be read-only, and you're going to get this little nasty banner at the top. And what you need to do is, in order to be able to edit the PowerPoint presentation, is click Enable Editing, and then that will take care of everything for you. Then I recommend that you save the file. And then do the same thing for the Word document. If you open the Word document, then you just click Enable Editing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to simulate that we're creating a presentation to inform others about the home buying process. In the Word document, I have some filler text that you can utilize to help you to build a PowerPoint presentation. And for the most part, you can follow along with me, and we'll do most of the presentation together. And then you can spend some time later completing it and then saving it as Lab4 and uploading it to the Canvas Dropbox. So if you haven't done so already, just as a reminder, make sure you download these two files so that you can follow along in my demo video and then be able to submit the lab after you work with me in the video. And we're going to jump between these two files here and there depending on how much text we need. So let's start by taking a look at PowerPoint, because this is essentially what we're going to be working with. I'm working on a Windows PC and Windows 10 right now. And as you can see, I have PowerPoint open, and it's pretty much configured for my computer, but for the most part, you should see everything here in the ribbon, similar to what you see on your own desktop. Currently, this PowerPoint presentation has 5 slides, and we can see here that they're numbered here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can also look at them if we want to look in the slide sorter view. We can see all 5. When we complete this presentation, we're going to probably have somewhere between 15 and 18 slides. It depends on what you do later when you complete the lab on your own, the rest of the lab. But again, just follow me, and for the most part, we'll get through the lab and you'll be done, and you can submit it to the Dropbox. Our goal today is to talk about how to insert tables and apply table styles. We're going to review some things together. Then we're going to look at working with graphics and inserting graphics. What we'll do today is we'll insert primarily what are called decorative graphics. And they're called decorative graphics because they decorate a page. And decorative graphics set the context. So for example, we're talking about buying a home. So we probably want to use pictures that look like nice landscapes with homes, or photos of a young couple buying a home. Maybe some of the activities that you might have around the house, like show people lounging in the living room or cooking in the kitchen. There are also other types of graphics. Another popular type of graphic is called a transformative graphic. Transformative graphics basically show or depict a process. Infographics that you find on the web are sometimes called transformative graphics. And you can also create transformative graphics using PowerPoint's Smart Art, which we'll take a look at here in the next module, inserting Smart Art. And it's a very useful tool. And in that next chapter, we'll also look at inserting charts. But for now, we're going to primarily, and you can also work on the drawing tab and create transformative or art as well. Some of the clip art that you find in PowerPoint, going back here, online pictures, etc., are decorative and transformative. Okay, so back to our presentation. So you don't really need to know much about buying a home. We're just going to put this presentation together, but I give you some filler text and the first 5 slides. If you look at the Word document, what you'll find, if I can get the Word document up and running again, there it is that there is more text. And so I'll talk about how we're going to use the remaining text as we progress through the lab. So at this point, you should be in PowerPoint and on the first slide, and this is a very plain presentation. So what would you do next? Well, what I would do is I would find a theme or design that is appropriate to the topic. So we're talking about buying a home. So what I might want to do is click on the Design tab, where I find the default PowerPoint themes and variants that are available to me. And if we review, I can click down and I can hover and I can see the different themes that are available to me. Some of them are different than what we saw on the Mac, and I again showed you on the Mac because a lot of you have Macs. And then the variants that are available for each of the themes in terms of colors and fonts, etc. But one useful tool, if I go back to design, that's available to us is under the designer group, design ideas. And if I click it, then PowerPoint actually goes to the web and it looks for templates that fit the topic. And it's pretty interesting because there's a little bit of AI going on here where it knows what topic I've typed and it finds templates on the web that are appropriate to it. And the templates and design ideas will be different depending on your computer. And so if you click on buying a home, for example, what you get is it just applies it to the slide. So the design idea is very appropriate to just the slide. And so it starts with every slide, it'll generate design ideas. And so it's kind of one slide at a time. But what it does is it gives you ideas on how to chunk information. Remember, I mentioned that people chunk, sort, and rank information, right? And so they look for signposts and signals like headlines, etc., that might be useful. And so this is pretty neat. I don't like this first design slide or in design ideas. And so I'm going to undo this just to get rid of it. And I'm going to go back to design ideas. I told you undo is my best friend. And considering the color theme, the one I really like is, and see how they changed? These design ideas actually change. So it's very much a random thing, right? And there it goes, because those last 2 slides aren't exactly what we saw. See how they change? So it goes to the web and it finds ideas, and it then will show you those that are available. And so I'm going to click around one more time and see if I can get that theme that I want again. There it is. buying a home. So I really like this one. So I'm going to start with this as my title slide. Now, when we look at this, what did it do for me? Well, under design ideas, and I'm going to close it. I'm done with that for now. And it'll give you these little tips. It basically told me, look, Curtis, here's a graphic I'll add. It added the graphic, which is this home and the headline and the tagline. And if I want, then I can then format them myself. And so this is a nice little headline, but I definitely want it a little bit bigger. And this tagline is 24 point, but it's a very narrow font. And from the back of the room, I want people to be able to read it, right? So I'm going to probably bring this up a little bit more and make it 96 point. So if I'm going too fast, you can always rewind the video, but I'm kind of doing things that we already have done in the past. So with something like this, then change your, you want to save your work. And so if I look at slide 2, again, it's pretty plain Jane. I can dress it up if I want to do things the hard way. There are all kinds of ways to do it. It's just an introduction, and it talks about buying a home is a big decision. Purchasing a home requires more, searching the web. But if I, again, go back to design and take a look, I get pretty nice ideas from design ideas and how it can group these things. And look how it'll use a similar color scheme, and it kind of groups them together. And so if I do this, I get a pretty nice organization. Although what it's doing is it's picking the verbs, right? And so it groups them together. Or I can do something like this and use these numbered ideas, numbered group panels to kind of organize the information. So there are all kinds of ways that this can be organized so that it's beautified, it looks pretty. I don't know if beautified is a word, right? Or something like this. And if I decide later, and of course that's not readable from the back of a room, right? And so this might be more appropriate, or something like this with very good contrast, right? Now, if I decide later that I want to change it, then I can go and I can, and guess what? That's smart art. We're going to learn about that a little bit later. I can close the design ideas, and if I don't like these little triangles, then of course I can always apply a different theme, right? And of course that will change a lot of the presentation and the current look and feel of it, but I have quite a few options. Okay, see how that changed my title slide. So the design ideas are pretty cool, but there are consequences. And so something to keep in mind is that whenever you make changes, then what will happen is you're going to get it will apply across the entire theme. Okay, enough of a review of theming. I'm not too particular about what the background looks like, etc. You can organize it any way you want. I'm just demonstrating at this point. All right, so but what we saw in this first slide is that the design ideas gave us a way to chunks and sort the information, because people like to see information segmented into smaller pieces. And so this will be a nice introduction to us, where we might use it even as a script. When buying a home, there are 4 things to consider. Buying a home is a big decision. Purchasing a home requires more than searching the web or driving around your neighborhood. It requires a lot of effort and time. And I recommend that, fourthly, that you use a 10-step process and be very systematic about purchasing your home. So let's take a look at slide 3, which is that 10-step process, and how we might organize this slide. Take a look at the slide and tell me what you might do with it. Well, what I might do with this slide is, since it's just this one long list of steps, it's kind of difficult to read and even conceptualize. It'd be nice if we could organize it sort of like we did with slide number 2. Now, of course, we could go to design ideas, and it's going to give us some tips. We could rely on it to do it. One thing that you'll notice in what it does here is it organizes them into a table, which it decorates and includes a graphic, and or it uses smart art. But we can't rely on design ideas for everything. So we're going to need to learn to do some things the hard way. And so what I want you to do is, let's go ahead and insert a new slide. So how do we do that? Where is that? Let's go to Home, and then let's insert a new slide. And what I want to do is we're going to create a duplicate of this thing. And so we're going to call it the 10-step process. So click and paste. Oops. Sometimes I still think I'm on a Mac. Or we can type it, right? I copy sometimes in reverse. Okay. Now, we have the option using this template to insert either a table, a chart, smart art, video, online pictures, or just pictures, our own pictures. What we want to do is insert a table. And a table will help us a lot because when we look at this slide, if we keep it the way it is, we could dress it up via the theme if we want. But the problem is that this slide has a lot of negative space, all this white space, and it's very difficult to read. It's using a sans serif font, which is fine. But if I want to organize it in a table, how would you organize it? Well, for one thing, it says step, 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 step. I might do something to reduce that redundancy and kind of maybe put all of this in a table, which is numbered, and then have the text next to it, and then add some white space to spread out this information. So if I had a table, how many rows and columns would I need? Well, looking at this list, we get an idea. Since there are 10 steps, we definitely need a minimum of 10 rows, right? And we probably need 2 columns because I want to number the steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 through 10, and another column for the text. So if we go back to slide 4 and click on Insert a Table, we can specify the number of columns. How many did we say we want? Well, we can either use a spinner to select it. This is called a spinner, or we can just type it. We want 2 columns, and how many rows? 10 rows, right? And then click OK. And now, what PowerPoint does is one of those contextual tricks, because it knows that you've inserted a table, and what it will do is it will add a style to that table based on what you see or what it sees from the theme. And we have the option to change the color of the styles, but right now we can see it's using this default style, which is called medium style to accent 1. Okay, and so we have the table inserted, and if we want to enter the information, then we could simply copy and paste. But why don't we go ahead and number these things ourselves? So we have 1, this is another step, 2, click, 3, and 4. We can use a down arrow if we want. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we have 9. But we had 10 rows. This top row we don't want to use because this is for our header. And so we want to be as descriptive as possible. So in the header, I would type step, right? And then over here, you might type process. So what we need is another row for row 10. So if we click here, then it brings up a contextual tool. We could click to design or to layout, and we see we have different options, right? So design allows us to design the table, like applying colors and fonts and borders and effects that are appropriate to the theme. And then layout lets us control the layout. Things like adding rows and columns, merging cells, making for example, 2 rows one, sizing them, aligning text within the cells, and the width of the table itself. I'm pretty satisfied with that, but what I want to do is we need another row below 9, right? So what we can do is we can click on Insert Below. So take your mouse and left click on Insert Below. And that will insert a table. It maintains the styles, and then put the number 10. Now, we really don't need this really wide column for just the numbers. So what we can do is we take our mouse, and you notice as you hover on the border between these two columns, you get this double arrow, which is sometimes called a Maltese cross. As soon as you've seen that arrow, if you see that arrow, if you left click and drag to the left, then what that's going to do is it's going to reduce the size of that first column and then increase the second column. So it's been about 22 minutes. What I want you to do is save your work and then go to the second part of this video, and we'll continue adding text in the table and stylizing it, and then we'll move on to inserting graphics and formatting graphics, and then working with shapes on slides.